Hello everybody, Peter Soto here from SlashFilm.com. I'm here today with Jermaine, Angie, and Russ from Slash Film. And it's Saturday night. We just got out of Hall H, and we just saw the Warner Brothers panel, which had Guillermo del Toro's Pacific Rim, Gareth Edwards' Godzilla made a surprise appearance, Zack Snyder's Man of Steel, and Peter Jackson's The Hobbit. So we're going to talk about all that, and we're going to give you our quick impressions. We're not here to describe what we saw in depth. You can find that on the site elsewhere or on other sites. We're just going to tell you what we thought. The first film we saw was Pacific Rim, Guillermo del Toro. Basically, it's 25-foot monsters appear on
25
Earth.
story.
25
Yes.
story.
Yeah,
Difference. 25-story monsters appear on Earth through a portal or something, and basically we build these 25-story mechs to basically fight the monsters. So basically it's like, you know, a 5-year-old's wet dream. It's really like...
It's my wet dream. I mean, I was talking about it like to see, I've always wanted to see this kind of thing. I want to see huge robots fight huge things on a $200 million scale, crushing cities, and it's like sort of what you want out of the Transformers movies, except they're not as big as this, you know, and the story was never there. Del Toro, from what we saw, I mean, he kept talking about how he was building things from the inside out, and it feels like the movie was sort of designed that way, where he started sort of with the story, and actually he had the idea first, and then like, you know, it just seems like there's a lot more heart to it, I think. But that's not really the footage. The footage is really more about the aliens and the people who drive these aliens. I mean, robots. I'm sorry, we've been Hall H waiting for like 14 hours today.
And those people are Charlie Hunnam from Sons of Anarchy, again, 12 Hours in Hall H.
Yeah.
Rinko Kikuchi, who you might know best from Rian Johnson's second film, The Brothers Bloom. Charlie Day of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia is in the film. And, of course, Idris Elba plays a significant role as well. And he has one of the more memorable lines in the teaser. Well, I guess it's not that memorable because I'm struggling to remember the precise wording. But it's like
we're here to stop the apocalypse or something.
Cancel
it.
Yeah, today we cancel the apocalypse,
Yes.
something along those lines.
Right.
Yeah.
By
All
fighting
four of us remember those. Like
that is correct. Yeah,
exactly.
And yeah, I mean, it looks glossy, it looks flashy, it looks big, it looks detailed, and it looks like Guillermo del Toro was given, you know, 5, 6, 7 times the budget it usually has.
No,
I think it looked great. I don't know that we saw enough footage. I mean, the footage we saw looked great, but we didn't see that much of it, so it's hard to get a sense of what the actual movie's going to be like. And one thing he was talking about in the panel is like he kept emphasizing how he wants it to be like a very human drama with a lot of heart. And this being Guillermo del Toro, I'm inclined to give him the benefit of the doubt. And so, you know, I'm looking forward to that. But if he can't bring that, I don't know.
I don't know what you guys were smoking. I mean, I know you didn't get much sleep, and you were in the Hall H line early, but that just blew me away. Like, the footage, I'm just so happy that someone was insane. Like, they had, like, there's one day that they had the lapse of, like, you know, the corporate, and, like, how are we gonna make, you know, whatever, we need, you know, Hollywood blockbuster, and they were like, Guillermo del Toro, yeah, we'll sign the check for, you know, $200 million. Yeah. And I'm not saying that the movie isn't going to make money, because I'm sure it'll make money in Japan, it'll make money in toys and sideshow collecting. It's going to be awesome. But this movie felt like something I've always wanted to see. And I've never, you know what, there's so many Hollywood movies out there, Superman, Hobbit, we've seen all this before. We've never seen big fucking robots versus big fucking monsters. We've seen big fucking robots, we've seen big fucking monsters, but never versus, except for in anime. So
I agree that it's really exciting that Guillermo del Toro is doing this project, and you know, it sounds great, but I want to know what blew you away about the footage specifically.
Yeah, because here's my thing. I agree with you. I think it looks awesome, and I was super excited. Like I said,
Yeah,
it's a movie
exactly.
I've always thought about. But like when you told me, when I read the descriptions on our site, or I wrote the descriptions, I was like, here's the movie I picture in my head, and I saw that movie there. And I know, here's the thing, the movie didn't come out for a year. Del Toro said, I'm going to show this footage once. Yeah. He goes, I'm going to show this footage once, and we're going radio silent until Christmas, when there'll probably be a teaser trailer on The Hobbit.
There's a bunch they're not showing you there. I can't say how I know that or what I know.
Yeah.
Because I'm embargoed. But there is more there.
He kept saying whatever you imagine, it's there. People were asking questions, or like, Mr. Del Toro, are there more than one alien? He's like, we got like 8 aliens. Monsters.
Yeah. Are there sea serpents? Yes, there's sea serpents.
Are there rocket fists?
And he's like, yes. He just kept going. He's like, everything you've ever imagined. I think I put it on my Twitter. Everything you've ever imagined is here.
That first shot that they had where they're like in the Arctic or whatever, and one of the robots drops onto like the ground. At first, like you're like, oh, it just looks like a Transformers robot. And then when it actually hits the ground, you realize how huge, and how massive these robots.
Here's the question: the design of the robot, the heads we've seen in the posters look sort of like a Cylon Battlestar Galactica, but then we hadn't seen the full body. I mean, you didn't, but you know what I mean. It sort of looked a lot more boxy than I expected, and it had like almost an arc reactor thing to it too. So I was a little like taken back. I was like, it didn't look as crazy, but maybe that's just more practical.
There's a lot of really interesting stuff in the footage, and excuse me, not Peter Jackson. He talked later. Guillermo said a number of interesting things in the panel as well. One of which was that he didn't want to use any motion capture because he didn't want these things to move like humans. He wants them to move like machines, and that kind of goes to what Jermaine's talking about in the terms of they're a little bit boxy, they're a little ungainly in a way. I mean, they're giant machines and they move like it, and that's very cool. He also said you can do two things with a big budget. You can get crazy or you can get lazy, and I chose to get as crazy as I possibly could. And there's a lot of stuff that we saw in this footage that suggests that is not an empty promise. It's the footage is incredibly detailed, it's colorful, it's amazing looking. But then the third thing that he said, and that he's talked about a lot, is that thing about heart that Angie said. And that's what I haven't seen in the footage so far. And I understand what this was for.
3 lines of dialogue.
I understand this is a sizzle reel. I mean, I get that the whole point was giant fucking robots versus giant fucking monsters, and he showed that. That's in there, no question. I wasn't as like gripped by it as these guys were, and I wasn't as gripped by it as I was by, say, like Elysium, which to me had both the spectacle and that like desperation in the kind of the character angle that hooked me.
Yeah, well, Elysium had more character, and then this is and that comes out a couple months before this. So
right.
I mean, so that's it's all a timing thing.
Anyways, I was totally blown away by this, and
I liked it.
Next up they unleashed the surprise of a teaser trailer for Godzilla. Gareth Edwards, the guy that did Monster, low budget monster movie, now is doing the giant budget hasn't been announced.
We don't know. We don't know anything, but we just know that he was going to do this movie, and he said, and they showed this teaser trailer. Russ, tell us about the teaser trailer, because you really got into the research on it.
Yeah, okay, so, I mean, we saw, the teaser was like maybe 2 minutes tops. It's not even that.
It's probably a minute. 90.
And it's basically we see this really, really destroyed urban landscape. There's buildings that are crushed everywhere. There's one building that's like a skyscraper that's kind of got a tunnel hole cut through it, like Godzilla just walked through the thing. And we kind of, over this is somebody intoning words clearly meant to invoke J. Robert Oppenheimer's quote of I become death I'm become death, the destroyer of worlds, which was related to the Manhattan Project, which calls back to the atomic thematic subtext of the original Godzilla. So clearly there's some interesting stuff planned for this movie. We hear Godzilla's roar, we see Godzilla from the back, and we see the scales on his back. We see his head turn into profile. It's a very...
And we also saw a monster on the ground.
There's a six-armed thing.
You know, the thing about this that really killed me is, like, for a teaser that's probably only ever going to be shown in Hall H, this thing looked amazing. Like, the whole landscape was destroyed. It didn't look like a video game, and there was, like, dust and particles in it. Like, it reminded, like, it evoked, like, 9/11 when there was, like, just, like... and you felt, like...
Gareth said, like, the only thing he really said about the Godzilla movie was, we want it to be as realistic as possible. I want you to imagine, what if Godzilla was outside your house, pretty much, and what would happen if he was, really destroying stuff. He really wanted to make it gritty and dark and real. And
he said specifically, I'm not making a sci-fi movie. He said, I'm not making a sci-fi movie, I want to make a realistic movie. But the thing to consider here is, we don't know if this movie's greenlit. We haven't heard any cast announcements. We don't know when this teaser was produced. We don't know what the intent was behind it, other than maybe it's an internal thing and to get us excited. So the status of this movie is very, very unclear. And that's interesting. It's pretty cool. Like, that's one of the neat... to say it was a surprise here is not quite correct because
Yeah.
there had been a suggestion that we were going to see this, but exactly what we saw and I think the effect it had on the audience was pretty significant. And so if the movie wasn't greenlit before, I would imagine it is as of now.
Yeah, we'll say.
Exactly, and then moving on, and by the way, let me just say, Warner Brothers, it just killed it. Like
What a great
every
panel.
single great panel. They expanded the screen from the regular screen going along the sides of Hall H. Amazing. Their next up was
Man of Steel.
Man of Steel. Zack
Which is
Snyder's.
we hadn't seen a thing from Zack Snyder's reboot of the Superman mythology with Henry Cavill as Superman and Russell Crowe as Jor-El, his father, and Kevin Costner as his dad, Pa Kent or whatever. And I mean, it was the first footage, and I was excited, and I was on pins and needles, and I think it delivered. I really liked it. What I really liked about it wasn't even so much the action stuff, which you only saw a little bit of in the trailer, which looked great. It was that the movie is about a man's struggle with the inevitability of his destiny. It's a guy who knows that he should be saving the world, but he's too scared to do it. And I think this is what we see. We saw that in the trailer, and I think that was sort of. We've been hearing that Christopher Nolan and David Goyer had this interesting new take on Superman, and I think that was it.
Yeah, and there's a great line in it where he's talking about his father told him if they find out that who he is, they're not going to accept him. They're going to fear him. They're going to.
And there's shots of that in the trailer. Yeah. There's a shot of Superman with you assume Lois Lane way up in the background, and the whole foreground is all these tanks and these planes, and
there's a shot of Superman being escorted by military.
That's right.
Like escorted as in he's in custody by soldiers, and we don't. It's very difficult to piece together precisely what the storyline is.
But Snyder said all the other Superman movies have kind of put him up on a pedestal, and the idea with this one was to make your living the journey of Superman,
He said he
taking
wanted
him
to
off.
find out how Superman feels.
Yes. He said everybody
I'm
wants
not
to be
sure.
relatable. Yeah, which is I don't know how we can relate to that character, but I think maybe it is. Like I said, it's the Christopher Nolan thing. It's let's forget that he's Superman for the first whatever, and sort of say he's just Clark Kent. He's this guy, and he had this crazy childhood. We see shots of him saving a bus when he was a kid, and then the parents getting mad about it. And then we do get a little bit later. We get the full Superman costume. We get a quick shot of
You got a
Zod.
sonic boom of him
Sonic,
flying.
Oh, him flying was really good.
And you know what though? There's interesting because it didn't feel like Zack Snyder.
Yeah.
There was no slow motion. There was
No speed
style,
ramp.
no speed ramp and no stylistic. Actually, the beginning felt like a
It's a
Terrence
Terrence
Malick
Malick
movie.
movie.
And it had the Thin Red Line score over it. Too.
Yeah.
And just side note is they said this movie they're gonna pretend like none of the other two movies that happened. So whereas Bryan Singer was I'm gonna pay homage to the John Williams score, none of that. Step one, ground level. You've never seen a Superman movie before.
And it's also worth noting that this teaser is very, very obviously cut to emulate the Christopher Nolan style, and whether the actual film will reflect that is difficult to tell because we didn't see any full scenes. I mean, this was very much a teaser, but the trailer felt a lot like the first full-length trailer for The Dark Knight Rises. It's quiet, it's meditative.
It's Batman.
It's
all of them.
all of them. Yeah, I mean, it has those Malick style shots. It has some things that reminded me visually of Insomnia. And again, the visual stylistic evidence of Zack Snyder's work was not really in evidence, which is kind of interesting. And
That doesn't mean it's not there.
doesn't mean it's
No,
not there. It just means that they're
Yeah.
cutting around it. Yeah, I mean, it's yeah.
And that's actually I liked the trailer. I wasn't blown away by it or anything.
Yeah.
But just as when we were talking about Pacific Rim, I was like, oh, I wasn't as in love with it as you were, but I was like, I'm gonna give Guillermo del Toro the benefit of the doubt. I feel the opposite way about Man of Steel in that I liked it, but it's Zack Snyder, and
Exactly.
I'll wait and see.
I would go with you there. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I'm still excited for it. You know what? The music that you said the score from Thin Red Line. I know it as more to me. It's the score for the first teaser for Pearl Harbor. Which is a great teaser, by the way. But is that in combination with that Malick style at the beginning as Clark as a kid, and gave me goosebumps. The later stuff, Superman, not so much. I'm excited to see it. It just the Superman stuff didn't seem as much. It's not like anything I haven't seen before. I'm excited for the personal journey stuff.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. I think
The untold story.
The Untold Story. Here's it. The Untold Story of Superman. And so that's Man of Steel. The trailer will be out for the Dark Knight Rises. Not that trailer.
Yeah, not the stuff
This was like a Comic-Con exclusive. It'll be a little shorter, more of a tease. Okay, and then last but not least is the Hobbit, which we've seen a lot of stuff from the Hobbit already. I don't think we need to get too much into it. They showed us 12 minutes of the movie, 12 and a half minutes of the movie, in all broken up scenes. A lot of the iconic scenes, and it looked great. It looks beautiful and in 2D. 24 frames.
Yeah.
Which I think Peter Jackson really wanted us to focus on the story and the characters as opposed to the technical side of it, and he definitely achieved it.
Yeah. And there was a new the Hobbit portion of the panel was open with a new behind the scenes video blog. It seems like it was. I would imagine we'll see some of that stuff online eventually, and it had a lot of stuff that's going to be in the second movie, and like stuff from the final battle, and there were shots of Smaug's treasure heap. Which was massive and fantastic.
The
looking.
the bear's house.
Bjorn's house.
Bjorn's
house. We saw stuff of Luke Evans as Bard the Bowman, clearly in that
They said
final
that's going to be
battle with
online later
Snyder.
on. They said
Okay, yeah. But nothing of Smaug. No Smaug at all.
But he said that it was like, we're shooting without it, and it's not going to be a year and a half till we render it. Because that movie, he's in the second movie.
Yeah, totally.
But man, I'll tell you what, that Warner Bros. Panel, waiting like 13 hours for that, it was worth it. The second those things opened, great footage, awesome presentation.
Yeah, the New York Comic Con has been very underwhelming for me. It seems like that's the way things are going in recent years. But Warner Brothers really bring it. They really brought it. Let's go with brought it. Yeah.
Are you gonna blame the long day?
Long day, waiting in line,
but
not much sleep.
That was not the end of the day.
But yeah, we'll get
Tune
to
back
that
in
next.
for the second part of this, where we talk about the final panel of the day, Marvel, which was pretty insane.
Bye.